If you're a part of the Christian community, then by now you've heard of 2819 Church. Today I want to talk to you guys about an issue that I'm seeing within that ministry. Now, just to be 100% clear, from a preached word standpoint, I believe that Pastor Mitchell is on point. From everything that I've heard so far from different sermons of his and different snippets and clips and TikToks, he seems to be very biblically sound and genuine. So this is not like an attack or anything. This is more so a critique of how we tend to do church in America currently, especially as ministries grow, right? So let's talk about it. Let's start from this standpoint, right? What is the church? In my personal opinion, and I believe I am backed up by scripture, but in my opinion, we are the church, the people, right? The church is not a building. Now let me clear that up. I'm not one of those people that say we don't got to go to church because we are the church when 2 or 3. That's not where I'm going with this. It makes sense for us to have a physical building that we all gather in, right? Because you have different ministries, you have different outreaches, you have different purposes and roles that the church serves. Also, having a physical building makes it a lot easier for the individual saints to gather together. So it makes sense to have a church building. I'm not saying we don't need the building, we don't got to go to church. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is, in my opinion, and supported by the Bible, we are the church, right? And so the question becomes, what makes a church effective? And in my opinion, what makes a church effective is personal relationships between the saints. I know you, you know me, we know each other. We pour into each other. We hold each other accountable. We help each other grow in the faith. And so here's the issue of 2819 and a lot of other churches. A lot of these churches are far too big. These churches are too big. There's too many quote-unquote members, digital disciples, online believers, all these different terms we have for all these different members, right? That's the problem. Because and the reason I'm focusing on 2819 right now is because 2819 right now is the flavor of the month. You're seeing person after person. I want to be a part of the movement. I want to be a part of this. I can't wait to go to Atlanta so I can visit the church. No. This is not about you joining a movement or you being part of a movement. That is a body of believers who through interpersonal relationships are helping one another grow in the faith. It's not for you. And that's part of the issue that we have in Christian culture right now. It's all about popularity and what's new and what's fresh and what's hot, and let's all connect to that. And we got to stop with that. Because once again, the most effective way is for us to have interpersonal relationships with other saints. We pour into each other. We support one another. We build each other up. We help each other grow in the faith. We hold each other accountable. And that's how we grow as Christians. A lot of these churches are just way too big. Once you get to a point where you got an 8 o'clock service, then a 10 o'clock, then a 12, you got one church in 3 locations, the church is too big. Once you reach a point where you're having 3 services a Sunday, it moves into the realm of a performance as opposed to a sermon. And the reason it becomes a performance is because now you are giving the same message 3 times in the same day. Now, we got to be real. It starts to become more so about how many people we have. How many people can we get to watch online? How many members can we say we have? You have to start to water down the message to appeal to all of these people. When I first started on my journey, I was originally going to one of these types of churches. I'm not going to say any names, but I was going to one of these types of churches. You know, with the thousands of members, and it's an international church, and they got all these online members, and there's 3 services a Sunday. I was going to one of those churches. But over time, for whatever reason, I just lost my hunger to continue to go, and I found myself at a smaller church with a lot less members, just naturally. And it wasn't until recently I figured out why. But what I realized was I had a stronger desire to really get into the Word. But at the mega church, they're only going to go so deep. How deep can you really go when you got all these people in here that you don't know? And you got 2 more services after this one. And you got thousands of people watching online that you don't know and have never met. It's only so deep and so far you can go in a format like that. It's my opinion that in a lot of these churches, instead of adding a 2nd service and a 3rd service, instead of saying, oh, we got 5,000 people online, what should happen is you should be encouraging people to find a local church. There's nothing wrong with having a message that piques people's interest in the gospel originally, right? Nothing wrong with that. But after a while, after they've been coming for a while or tuning in online for a while, at a certain point, you should be encouraging people to find a local church. Because that's one of the issues that we are having in the church today. A lot of these churches are far too big. And so you can't create that real Christian environment of personal relationship. I'm with you on your walk, you're with me on my walk, and we're helping each other grow. We're not establishing that because all of us are joining these far too big churches. And we're not growing. And so once again, this is not a knock on the doctrine at 2819. I'm just merely saying that there's a church model that's going around that is not conducive for saints to grow. These churches are getting way too big. And what's happening is people are, quote unquote, joining the movement. And that's my church, and that's my pastor. And we are making a celebrity out of the pastor and worshiping the pastor instead of worshiping Christ. And that's why there's so many of these pastors who are out of order. Because we are idolizing the pastor so much that it doesn't matter what they do wrong. We will defend the pastor more vigorously than we'll defend the faith. Somebody will say something crazy about the word or about Bible or about God, and we won't say nothing. But somebody says something about our pastor, and we ready to fight. And so at a certain point, after you've been going to this huge church for 6 months, a year, it's time for you to find yourself a local church where you can have individual personal relationships with other believers, and you guys can grow together. At a certain point in time, you have to get offline and find yourself a physical home church.